What's up, Facebook and YouTube? Much love to everybody. I got some good news. My YouTube account is off restriction, so I can now make longer videos. So this will be the first of one of those videos. And I'm going to be dealing with a little Freemason symbolism today, particularly the arch and the square plane. Now, these are two things that we always miss, if you ask me. We tend to miss this in a lot of Freemason art and a lot of symbolism. We tend to miss the most simple, the most consistent aspect of all Masonic art, and that is the arch and the square plane. Also, we tend to miss the fact that the highest degree you can reach in Freemasonry is the 33rd degree, and that is an arch degree. So there are what's called arch degrees, which are your high levels. And it also might be important to keep in mind that all of your astronauts are Freemasons, and most of them are arch degrees. The first astronaut in space, in fact, was an arch degree, and we'll be talking a little bit about him later. But we're going to start this by looking at a little Masonic art. And what we want to pay attention to is the arch and the square plane. It's very common not only in Masonic art and symbolism, but in a lot of ancient cosmology. Now, this is very deep because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of being a Freemason is understanding cosmology and understanding the nature of the universe. This also explains why most of your astronauts are Freemasons. Now, a lot of people don't understand what exactly the Freemasons are hiding. Hopefully, we can solve that for you. Now, you got to understand something about Masons. All of their science and all of their understanding comes from the ancient people. Let's start here before we get into any of the symbolism. I want to explain to you where this stuff come from, because it didn't originate with them. The first Masons we know come from Kemet, and they were the pyramid builders. But what's important is the cosmology that these ancient Masons had, because to understand that is to understand the secret that Masons are hiding from us today. So Masons get this science and this knowledge from ancient cultures, particularly cosmology. You got to understand that ancient cultures didn't segment their studies like we do today. So you go to school, you may have a class for math, one for reading, one for science, and nothing for God. You go to church on Sunday for that. So everything is segmented. Back in the ancient society, particularly in ancient Kemet and a lot of Nile Valley civilizations, where a lot of this science originate from, they only had one subject, and that was the study of everything. You see, all of the science and reading and mathematics were meshed together, and they always included God in all of their studies, something that we don't do today. All of this is important that we start here before we go into the symbolism. We need to understand that a lot of ancient cosmology and ancient sciences and knowledge was stolen during ancient invasions and wars. What happened to that knowledge over the time was that it was distributed amongst certain elites. It was studied. And over the years, some of it was manifested into technology that we see today. Now, this goes into something else. A lot of people say that we get a lot of technology from UFOs and aliens. When you understand that your cosmology is wrong, and that it's impossible for a UFO to come from another galaxy, since galaxies aren't what you think they are. And I will be explaining this. If not in this video, you can check some of my other videos, okay? So we understand that aliens and all of these extraterrestrial creatures, they do not come to this planet from outside in what they call space. All of these creatures come from the inner earth, or from the sea. All right. With that being said, we must realize that when you hear people say that we reverse engineered UFO technology, what they're really saying is that we reverse engineered ancient technology. See, what the elites have done to discredit the ancient ancestors is to link all of the teachings of the ancestors and all of the wondrous monuments that still stand the test of time today. They would rather give the credit to all of these things to UFOs or giants. Now, that's another lecture about giants I will be going into, because giants did really exist. But let's stay on subject here. The knowledge of the ancients was corrupted by the elites to the point today where we are in awe at the great works of the ancients, but we still discredit them as fools, and we embrace our modern scientists with all of their theories. So why am I saying all of this? Because the technology that's been reverse engineered is a result of years of studying ancient carvings and ancient texts, ancient sacred writings, and ancient sciences that was stolen during ancient invasions. This knowledge has been in the possession of the Vatican and many elites for years, but it has only been perfected only a few years ago during our major revolutions in technology and industry. You see, it takes time to decode the knowledge of the ancestors. But instead of them telling you that this is where the knowledge come from, they seed information into society, disinformation, I must say, that aliens built the pyramids, or that aliens came up and gave us these concepts or created Teflon or these different things. And later we find on some of the ancient carvings that a lot of the technology we have today, the ancients were aware of it. And we say, wow, that's a miracle that they prophesied these things. But there's another way you can look at this. Maybe it's not a miracle. Maybe it's the fact that they didn't prophesy anything. Maybe it's the fact that the ancients had the technology first and we recreated the technology and recopyrighted it. And instead of giving the ancients credit, you have egotistical men who rather discredit the ancients and monetize all of the knowledge and sciences that you receive today. With all of that being said, we see that there is a big secret being hid from the masses. The elites never will tell us the truth. And if you think you're getting the truth in school or in the science books, you are wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. There is truth in everything. There's truth in the Bible. There's truth in the science book. But you have not been taught to seek truth. You have been trained and miseducated to regurgitate theories. So understand that most of our search for truth starts in a biased foundation, and that it starts on a foundation of complete lies that we've been given since children. I'm going to now get into this Masonic symbolism. And as I stated earlier, what we want to pay attention to is the arch and the square plane. Why do we want to pay attention to this? Because as I just stated, your cosmology is one of the basic foundations that is being used to rule you. But the illusion is that none of this is important. Hopefully you will see why this is important by the end of this video. The Masons today hijack ancient knowledge and now use it against us. And a lot of this symbolism, I will be proving that and also explaining the symbolism to you. So as you can see in this picture, a picture of George Washington, who was, by the way, a Freemason, if many of you didn't know that. What we want to pay attention to in this picture is the fact that, of course, he's in his full Masonic dress and attire, but we want to pay attention to the arch above his head, which is connected by the columns, which is all connected by the square plane that he's standing upon. That's very simple. We just want to pay attention to that. See, we often miss the simple things, and I'm going to be pointing out to you why this is important, because it's the simple things that we find consistent, and it's the simple things that really tells a big story. And we can see this concept in a lot of ancient cosmology and a lot of Masonic art, and we're going to look at some more. In this next picture, it's nothing too different, but we just want to pay attention to the consistency of the arch and the square plane. I will be breaking down the columns in a future video. The 4 columns that you see in all of these pictures, I will be breaking those down, a little bit about them real quick. They can symbolize earth, wind, and fire. They can also symbolize the 4 corners of the earth, or the 4 foundations that the earth plane sits upon. We just want to pay attention to the arch and the square plane and the consistency that we're seeing in Masonic art and ancient cosmology and ancient art. So those are 2 Masonic pictures right there that I just wanted to point out to y'all, of the arch and the square plane. Now, this is one of my favorite pictures of the cosmos. Now, this is what you're looking at, is an ancient depiction of the cosmos. And what's so amazing about this depiction is that all ancient cultures, had this same exact depiction for many, many years. In fact, it wasn't up until about 4,000 years ago that we changed this. And when we changed it that's when all the problems came with our science and cosmology. There's a lot of loopholes. We all should be aware to the fact that NASA does changes its numbers every year, and they also admitted that they never been to the moon. And we also know that all of the space images we receive from NASA are just GoPro and Photoshop, and I will be having future videos on that later. So let's look at this ancient cosmos depiction. Now, we just looked at the Masonic art. Now, we're going to put them side by side and make some comparisons. Like I said, if you look at the previous one with George Washington, it has the arch, as you can see in this ancient depiction of the cosmos. You have your arch, and you also have what's called the foundations of the earth, or the earth plane, which is a straight line horizon, the ground that you walk upon. Okay, and we see this in a lot of Masonic art. We also see in this ancient depiction that we have the 4 columns. Okay, and you see that they have water, fire, Sheol. There are different ways you can, describe this. One thing that's consistent is the layout. But we know that all symbols can mean many different things to many different people at many different times. Now, don't let that confuse you, because I'm going to also make a video about that later. There's so much to get into, and I want to stay on topic. So what I basically want to point out to you is the consistency and the things we miss in the Masonic art. We never compare it to the ancient cosmology, because the ancient cosmology is not popular. It's been hidden. It's been taught that if you believe the earth is flat, you're a dummy. Yet we marvel at the ancient pyramids, which makes no sense to me. So let's take a look at the ancient art. I'm pretty sure many of you are not familiar with this art, or you have seen it and have probably had it misinterpreted to you. Understand that all ancient cultures for many years, as I stated previously, had this same design. We see the 4 columns as we saw in the Masonic art. We see the square plane, and we see the arch. Let's move on to some more Masonic pictures. This is going to break down to you this big secret that supposedly is hidden is really not as complex as you think. Now, in this picture, I really can't explain to you the ritual that's going on in this picture, but I do want to point out some things. In the top left corner, you will see the Masonic compass and square on a shrine. And if you look inside of the inner pyramid of that square, you will see a horizon with an arch on it. What you're looking at is the flat earth planetarium symbol, and the compass at the bottom represents the flat plane that you are on. And we also know that the star above the pyramid represents the firmament where God sits, and that G at the star represents the eye of God, okay, where the Most High sits. Okay, but we also want to pay attention to the reason I pointed this picture out is because, like I said, in the middle of that, you can see the horizon with the arch in the middle. Now, that's very important to lock in your head as we move on. Now, we're going to look around this room before we move on to the next picture, and you can see that in the right corner over here, we have another picture of the arch with the square plane, and also you can see that the whole room is built on this same cosmology. Okay, the whole room, you have your square plane. This is the same thing we see in the courtroom. So I'm showing y'all the big hidden mystery. It's right in your face, and as we move on, you will see this. So, okay, understand that the table that the guy in the middle is sitting at is a representation of the flat earth plane, and that the arch above his head, or the pyramid above his head, because they are synonymous, represents your arch. So we see this cosmology all over the room, and indeed the room itself is built just like your courtrooms with this same ancient cosmology. And this is something that we miss because we're looking for something so deep. We're looking for 6-pointed stars, we're looking for 5-pointed stars, and all of that stuff is cool, but they can get you into all of that, and it can throw you off from what's so plain and consistent that we see right in front of us. Now let's move on to the next picture, and we can see this was a magazine. U.S. News actually published this. It says Secrets of the Lost Symbol. Now you got to pay attention to this magazine, because a lot of times these magazines will have the truth right on the cover artwork, but they will present it in a way to make you overlook the truth. So let me break down to you this cover on this U.S. News article. Okay, it says Secrets of the Lost Symbol, and they want you to believe that this all-seeing eye, this pyramid that they have in the forefront, is the lost symbol. symbol that they're speaking of. But the people who understand the hidden message of this magazine know that the lost symbol is the building behind all of this. There's a building in the background here, and I think that's the U.S. Capitol building. That is the lost symbol, okay? But they'll give you the pyramid eye in the forefront with the real symbol in the background. But the people who can read the hidden messages, at first glance, you already know what you're looking at, okay? Now, the pyramid and the eye is significant, but on this particular topic, the lost symbol is the very building in the background. That is the planetarium symbol, okay? That's the ancient cosmos with your arch, okay, and your flat plane. This whole building of the U.S. Capitol was built on ancient cosmology, okay, people? It was all built on ancient cosmology. So was the Washington Monument, and so was the pyramids that we see in Tennessee, and also they have rebuilt Egypt here in Las Vegas as well. I'll be doing future videos on all of those things too. So I had to break down this magazine cover for you. Pay attention to that building in the background. It's the same ancient cosmos structure, okay? Like I said, it's all around you, people. All you got to do is open your eyes. The best way to hide something from a person is to really hide it in plain sight. As crazy as that sound, it's the truth. If I can hide it in plain sight and you don't see it, then you'll never see it if it's in plain sight. A lot of people may have questions. Why would they want to lie to us? Why would they want to deceive us like this? If you haven't watched my previous videos, I suggest you get in the description box and start the series from the beginning. At this time, the secrets of secrets is being revealed. Now, about 2 or 3 years ago, there was a big movement in the conscious community called Ascension. And everybody was saying that there was a new awakening that was going to come around this time. They were saying that there was a new knowledge of the earth that was going to come around this time. And everybody was making videos on YouTube about the earth moving from 3rd dimension to 5th dimension. I'm here to tell you today, people, that that time is here now, but we will miss it if we're not careful. That's why the Bible say that only a few will make it. You hear that a lot of religions say that only a few people will make it. And what they mean by that is that only a few people will grasp this plain and simple truth in their lifetime. As I said in the previous video, the only way you can hide something this simple is to complicate it to death. So what I'm telling you here is that that time is now, people. The earth is moving from 3rd dimension to 5th dimension. What do I mean by that? What did we mean by that at the time when that ascension movement was going on? It's revealing itself today that the earth never changed, people, and the earth never will change. For the earth to change in a way that science teaches us that, you know, it's moving into different parts of the cosmos is inaccurate. And I explained that in previous videos. What I want you to realize is that nothing about our reality really changes. Only thing that really changes is our perception of our reality and the way we view it. Okay, this is the same earth and the same stars that you're looking at every night that the ancestors and the dinosaurs looked at. But we have evolved to a state to view our reality different. And the way we view our reality will manifest itself in our reality, meaning the way that we view our reality, we will build based upon that viewpoint. So if you look at ancient societies, you can see pyramids and a lot of cosmological monuments because they were very divine people in tune with the cosmos. Today, you see in our societies a lot of police stations, hospitals, clinics, and, you know, abortion clinics and, you know, military bases and missile sites and churches and mosques and, you know, different things that divides us of that nature. I can go on and on because the way we view our reality, we have started to shape our reality based on that viewpoint. And if we're not careful, we will continue to create a worse and worse hell than what we are seeing. Now, back to what I'm saying about the earth moving from 3D to 5D. That change and that shift is only going to take place in the consciousness or the mind or the perception of humanity. It's not going to literally physically take place. The earth is not going to transform. The earthlings are going to transform their viewpoint and the way we look at the earth. And by doing so, then the earth will transform. The earth has no hands and eyes. We are the hands of the earth, okay? And we shape the earth. We build upon the earth and shape the reality upon it. So we have to change our viewpoint for the earth to change. It's a symbiotic relationship. And we are man, the manifestors, the ones who build upon the earth. So we have to really have a foundation of truth and in our cosmology, because the rule of as above, so below is a very real rule. And that rule is being used against us today. Now, with everything that's being said, you're going to understand why there's such a big consistency between Masonic art and ancient cosmology. This is something we've missed for years, people. Okay, it's simple and plain. You got to understand something about people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and all of your scientists. They all are Freemasons. You got to understand that heliocentrism itself is a religion. It's a culture or a cult. It's an ideology. So what you have to do is realize that science is its own religion. So if your science isn't right, then you will be off balance morally and spiritually. Okay, your essence won't be truly what it could be based on the foundation of truth. And I've come to find that ancient cosmology is that foundation. And for those who would beg to differ, let's look at some more of the consistency that we see with Masonic art that is used among the elites in ancient cosmology. Now, this picture right here, before we move on, is something I just wanted to show you. It say, for me, lying about the universe is like breathing. I think that was a pretty funny one. And I'm also going to be uploading videos on Neil deGrasse Tyson just spewing a bunch of baloney. And you'll be surprised that we pay these guys millions in taxes to really just insult us. Okay, so this one is a picture that we see from Masonic Week 2011 from Alexandria, Virginia. Now, what we really want to pay attention to in this picture is the very platform. Okay, we notice that we have the Masonic compass in the background, but we also have this little bowl or cup type platform, and the Masonic compass is in the background of that. And you can notice the arch in the middle of that compass. Okay, so once again, you see your square plane horizon and your arch in the middle, which represents the enclosed dome of the Most High, many call the firmament. All right, this picture is very revealing, and we're starting to see more and more of the consistency as we move on. So this is a Hebrew conception of the cosmos. As we can see at this time, all of the ancient cosmologies were, I would say, synonymous, for people who we were told didn't have any contact with each other. They sure had a very accurate description of the cosmos over the whole earth plane. So when we look at this Hebrew conception, we can clearly see the flat plane and the arch above it, just as we saw in the previous pictures, 100% identical, same concept. We've overlooked it for many years, and it's time for us to accept the truth, people. We've been lied to, and we can no longer accept anything that liars say. We can see in this picture, this is like a collage. It's a lot going on in this picture. But if you look closely, it's really all the same symbol in many different variations. Remember what we're focusing on, the earth plane and the arch, the firmament dome. We clearly see it in the ancient cosmology. And on this Masonic collage, we can see it here. You can see your globes on these columns. And you can see that the earth globe is on the right column, your right-hand man. That's what they rule you with. The Helios globe or the heliosphere that they rule you with. Many people don't understand how these guys can rule the world based on a foundation of false science. So what you're looking at in this collage is the planetarium symbol in many different depictions. Each one of these little images around the middle image is the earth plane planetarium as well, with the arch above and the square plane at the bottom. Very simple stuff, people. But a lot of people don't want what's simple. A lot of us just want to go to YouTube and be entertained with misinformation. It's very interesting to hear about boogeyman stories and, 6-pointed stars with Baphomet, which the Baphomet symbol is telling a very simple truth that we overlook because we complicate this stuff, guys. I will be doing a whole video on a Baphomet in the future. Don't worry. I do have many on it already, so just explore the channel. Now, before moving on from this collage, I just want y'all to look at it some more because it's a lot of ancient cosmology symbolism going on in this collage. Every single pic tells a story. As you can see, the flat plane earth horizon with the arch above, you got your moon on the right, the sun above on the left, and having the eye of the Most High in the center, and you want to pay attention to the distances because the sun and the moon is not very far according to this collage, and I'll be discussing that later. Keep in mind the arch and the square plane as mentioned earlier. Now, I want to point this out before we go back to the arch and the square plane. Now, this photo is called Islam Rising. And the important thing about this photo is that a lot of your elites and architects build on ancient science and knowledge. A lot of our ancient ancestors built their structures aligned with the sun, the moon, and certain constellations. In order for them to do that, they had to know the true shape of the cosmos. As we can see, they had to understand that the earth plane was flat and immovable, and that the stars and celestial bodies moved above. The elites know this, and when you look at this picture, they're exercising this science right in front of you. Now, this building was made that for a particular point in time that the sun would be aligned in the center of the crescent moon. And in order for them to do this, you can only be on a stationary flat earth. This picture that you're looking at cannot be possible on a spinning globe. This alignment will not be possible, people. We see a lot of these concepts from the sciences of the ancients in a lot of religious cultures and elite societies. They build upon these principles. So this is real stuff that can be applied. So our ancient ancestors wasn't primitive humans like we've been taught. The next picture, this is a very deep one. This is inside of a certain Masonic lodge. The deep thing about this picture is that in the middle of the square plane, first of all, the whole room is built on the same science of the ancient cosmos, as you can see. But the key thing about this picture is the flat plane table in the middle of the square room and the window directly in the middle of it. This is on purpose, people. This is all planned, okay? They didn't just set this up like this for no reason. It's set up this way so that when the light enters the window, it will shine upon the flat table. So if you wanted to play chess on that table, you wouldn't need a lamp because you can get natural sunlight from the light. Now, what is that symbolizing when you see this room built this way? It symbolizes the way the sun gives us light in this planetarium system that we're calling the Earth or the cosmic egg. This whole room is built on that science and is actually marvelous and takes a lot of work to design this very simple room, okay, this layout. And as you can see in the background, you have your arch and your square plane. Just like your courtroom, the seat in the middle would be the judge seat, and that's where the Most High sits with the square plane beneath him. Like you read in the Bible, it say that the earth is the footstool of the Most High, and as you can see this chair in the background, the legs of the chair sits on a square plane, okay? That would be represented as the earth, and above it, the head of the Most High. And the same thing you can see in a window in the middle of this room, which the light from the firmament shines upon the flat table, which represent the earth plane. So that's a very awesome picture, and it should break down a lot of the rest of them as we move on. We're going to look at another picture, and this one here is from Christian art. And as I stated, things that we miss are the arches and the square plane. If you notice that this picture has a continuum of the arch and the square plane, okay? If you study the picture, you can see a continuum of this layout, and I also broke it down in a previous video. This is the Cuban link continuum. It's a continuum that we can see also in the Cuban link chain. Like I said, it's a very interesting picture because it shows the arch and the square plane as a continuum, and this is from Christian art. Now, this is another one that's very interesting. This one look a little extraterrestrial, for lack of better words. But as you can see, the flat plane would be this line right in the middle, and that's the earth plane, which sits upon the four foundations, as you saw the four columns in the previous Masonic art. And we also know that the flat plane was present with the arch above. This particular ancient depiction, I believe, is another Hebrew depiction. Another ancient one we want to look at. This is the Navajo cosmos. And this is a very pretty picture, if you ask me. I like this design. Understand that when we look at these pictures, that the plane part or the surface area that you see the life living upon stretches on throughout the infinite cosmos. This is just a depiction. So you may see it in this globe type design, but you'll always have the earth as a flat plane. This is one thing that confused a lot of people concerning the globe earth versus flat earth. The globe concept is still present because you're enclosed in a spherical dome, but the earth plane plane is a circle, which was spoke of in Genesis and depicted here in this Navajo cosmos, as well as plenty other ancient depictions. So let's skip back to some more Masonic art. As you can see, the whole concept of the stage in the background is built on the ancient cosmos, and you will see this layout in our society today. Now, this is a grand, large Masonic picture, and again, you got your square plane, and on this one, the arch is only present if you look very close. The rays of the eye that you see, which represents the eye of the Most High, the rays that's being emitted from the eye actually forms an arch. And once again, beneath that, your flat plane. So like I said, the most simple things that we've been missing for years. In the next picture, as we can see here, we got the earth plane. Look at how straight that horizon is, people. Beautiful. All right. And look at your arch above with the eye is always present. Now, I don't know why they chose to use an evil satanic eye on this one, but hey, that's a dumb question. We already know what type of people we dealing with here. Now, I will be breaking down the columns that you see later because they tell their own story. There's a reason that globe is on the right column. All right. And also, we know that the checkerboard here that these two humans are walking upon is supposed to be sand, okay, that leads off into the horizon, which is that straight plane we're seeing as a consistency. So we do see that this picture tells a very huge story and is very revealing. Once again, the sun and the moon right above the earth flat plane. They got the humans on the earth plane and they got the sand as the checkerboard. We all know that the grid or the checkerboard represents a plane. As any kid that plays a video game like San Andreas, the grid is the flat plane. Okay, if you work with graphic arts or do any type of, even in paint, Microsoft Paint, the grid is very useful. Okay, once you start bending the grid, then you cannot create art upon that surface. You could, but it will be distorted. We're going to move on to the next Masonic picture. Now, we see all of the same symbolism we stated previously, but something I want to point out with this one is in the middle of the columns, we see a rocket. We actually see a rocket, and the rocket seems to be going upward, and there's a hammer above that rocket. Now, that is very eye-opening because there's several videos where we see NASA launching rockets and hitting invisible barriers. The rockets just crash. In fact, I'm going to be uploading a whole compilation of those videos on my channel, so stay tuned. People launching rockets, and these rockets are hitting barriers. So this is proof that we are enclosed in some type of dome. And this picture here tells that story, if you ask me. However, it can be interpreted many different ways. This is a very interesting one. So we're going to move on to the next Masonic picture. And as we see here, the square plane, you see your columns, and you also have your eye of God, your firmament at the top. All right. And this is just the same thing we've been seeing in another picture. Now we're going to look at the picture of the Royal Arch. And as you can see, it's no different. The key thing about this picture is that not only does it have all of the same consistency that we saw earlier, but as you can see that the coffin is laid parallel to the earth plane, which everyone will make that journey. And also you notice that in the middle of the arch, there's your zodiac is actually engraved in the arch. This is very important to pay attention to because the ancients always had their zodiac engraved in the firmament, or if not engraved in it, near the firmament area. It is also believed that the stars and planets and constellations are luminaries as taught by the ancients, and that can also be proven. Whereas NASA claims of the planets being trillion light years away, big balls of gases, cannot be proven. Okay, what we're calling stars, the ancients call luminaries, and they did this for a reason. They're actually some type of holographic projection that is sending us light resonances from the Most High. So when you look at this arch on this picture with the zodiac symbols engraved in it, it tells a big story, and it lines up with what the ancients said concerning the celestial bodies in relation to ancient cosmology. So that pretty much sums up all of these pictures. When we compare Masonic art to ancient cosmology, it's clear to see that all of the sciences of the ancients have been hijacked by NASA, by bogus scientists, and they are indeed being used against us to deceive us about the nature of our cosmos. A lot of people say, why is this important? Well, that's the foundation. If they can fool you about where you are, they can then fool you about what you are. For example, if they say that the cosmos is created from the Big Bang and we're stardust and we're wobbling through space and stuff is clashing into each other with minds of its own, it seems that in their science and their cosmos that the creator is not present. There's just meteors and bodies flying everywhere, clashing into each other as if the creator is either chaotic or none present. Bodies have minds of their own. It separates you from the creator. It really separates you from what the creator really is based on the where. So if they can fool you that this is the nature of the creation, then they can fool you about the nature of the creator. Okay? When you look at the ancient design of the cosmos, as you can see, they were comfortable knowing that their feet were on solid, immovable, non-bending ground, and that the creator wasn't far away from them. The creator, okay, was right above our ancient ancestors' head. And I really believe if we knew that today, that we would have a closer relationship to God by bringing God closer to us in our cosmology rather than excluding God from all of our sciences. Because as I mentioned earlier, our viewpoint of the world shapes the reality on the surface. And as you can see in our world today, we clearly need to change our viewpoint. If it's true that we have been lied to for years by those in power, if we're going to really change our viewpoint, the first step is to discard all of the lies that they have given us. Not some of them, all of them. Okay, we know that everything they've given us is not lies because even lies are based in truth. But all of the truth they've given us, they've given it to us with a hidden agenda and motive to support a lie. Therefore, their truths must be discarded also. Now, on your new quest and your new journey to getting truth, you will start on a plain foundation, just as an artist do with a plain canvas. And we're going to start based on what we can see with our God-given senses, a flat horizon. And we base that foundation upon this truth. If your research is based upon truth, you will always be led back to the proper answers and to the source, but not if it's based on lies and theories. So what they have done is hijack the truth and mask it with lies, but the truth was always in front of your face. They just pointed their fingers in other places that you won't look at what's right in front of you. So hopefully this video will help you get closer to the truth, and by doing so, get closer to the creator, understanding the creation. Hopefully humanity can change our viewpoint and go back to the ancient teachings of the ancestors, because our ancestors lived a more slow reality, a more laid back reality. They lived a heaven. Their reality was a paradise. Today, our reality is just another day punching the clock, and we take our little brief vacations paradise once a year, and we're told we'll get eternal paradise when we die. That is not the ancient way, people. We can create heaven here on earth. All we have to do is be open-minded, seek the truth diligently without being biased, and discard all of the lies that we've been told. All you're going to get from your government is theories, and their math is only going to support theories, not fact. And the truth lies in ancient cosmology. And before I get out of here, just to let you know that the pictures you're seeing in front of you right now, just showing you a little bit of the astronauts. These guys are Freemasons. You can see the rings on them. That's no question. Each and every last astronaut. And this picture of this guy here, I wanted to show you this because it shows you the great lengths they go to promote this lie. Okay, here he is with a globe. Why would they put that globe there? Just to keep beating this concept into your head. But you will free your mind, because I got faith in you all. Even if you dislike the video, if you give me thumbs down, if you say I'm a moron, an idiot, I still love you. I still got faith that even if not in this lifetime, you will grasp this simple truth eventually. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm so happy I can make longer videos. Share this video with your loved ones. Peace and much love.